Morning, guys. Happy Monday. Hope everyone's had a good spring break and everyone's ready to get back in at it this week with regards to our schoolwork. Hopefully, this video will help a little bit with your homework as we go into Monday. And I'll go through every assignment and kind of give you a little overview and whatnot. Don't forget you can sign in on a Zoom at 10 and at 7 tonight. Ask Mr. Holman any questions you may have with regards to any of your homework as you're working on it. So don't just always ask your mom and dad. You can always wait and ask me. Um, Joke of the day: how did the cowboy keep track of all of his cows? He used a calculator. Pretty funny. Not really, but hope that starts you off on the right foot this morning. Yeah, so I'm gonna put the camera down here and start going through our work. So one thing, excuse me, I'm still after this. I'm gonna go for my morning run. Encourage all of you to keep getting outside when you can and do some exercise with your parent or by yourself or with your brothers and sisters. Keep getting exercise. It's very, very important. Mr. Holman goes for a run almost every single day because it keeps your health up and keeps you nice and healthy. So keep that up, even though we don't have recess or anything like that. Take time for recess. Okay? Don't tell your parents all day, though. All right, kindergarten. Today, what we're going to be looking at is this. You're going to be looking at math problems. Ooh, first time you're going to be doing math. It's going to be super fun. After I drew these on here, I thought, oh man, it looks kind of like a face. That's kind of weird. Looks like two faces. Let me grab my pen. All right, so for your math this morning, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn this light off. There, I think that's better. All right, so you have to count how many spots are in the circle. So we count the first circle: 1, 2, 3, 4. So we put a 4 down here. Okay, and then how many are in this circle? There's 1. Then you're gonna have a line at the end here. Okay, right after the equal sign. So you got to count all of them together. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I put a 5 there at the end. Okay, let's try one more. So how many are in the first circle here? There's 2, so we put a 2 underneath it. How many are in this circle? Oh, hopefully you can see it. Yep, 3. Count them all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I didn't mean to put the same answer for both of them, but that's what you're going to be working on like that. Okay, so you got to count how many are in the squares, and then write the number underneath it, and then in the last line, count all of them together. Another thing that you could be working on today is writing your numbers all the way up to 20. So 1 to 0. So you can even, in fact, start at 0, go 0 to 20. You can write those. On the back side, you're working on dot to dot, counting by 5s. So you can work on that as well. So keep working on getting those numbers down. Write those numbers nice and neatly. So that way I can see them and read them carefully, especially if your parents are able to text me the stuff. That will make it a little bit easier. Okay? First graders. In your math today, you're nothing too out of the ordinary with regards to your math. The one thing that is a little bit different is adding by tens. There's 2 different ways that you're going to be adding by tens. One we've done before. They're going to give you a box that looks like this. And I'll say 43. Okay, it's going to look something like that. And remember on this one, instead of add 10, you just go up 1 more. So what's 1 more than 4? That's a 5. And then we leave the back number the same. So 43 becomes 53. Let's try one more. If I had the number 61. Okay, what's 1 more than 6? What comes after 6? 7. And I keep the back number always, this stays the same. 61 becomes 71. Okay, so that's something that we've done before. The other thing, though, that it's just exactly the same way, except now they're going to make it into a math problem. So it's going to say 35 plus 10. Okay, we've done math problems like this already, but they're only adding up by 10. So you do 5 plus 0, 5 plus 0, and that would equal 5. And 3 plus 1 would be 4. So you guys got to add that number straight down. 5 plus 0 is that. 3 plus 1 is 4. Let's try one more. Good thing I got a blue sweatshirt on today. Mrs. Holman won't be happy that I wiping the board off with my sweatshirt, but it's a little easier. All right, so you always add this one first. 3 plus 0 is 3. And 4 plus 1 is 5. Pretty simple, I think, today. I don't think it should be too difficult with regards to that. You're working also with the number 83. That's the first part of your assignment this morning. For number 2, you have to write a number word that exactly has 2 vowels. Remember, vowels are A, E, I, O, or U. So you got to find 2 of them when you write the words out. Think about your spelling words from a while back. We worked with those, how to write the words 1, 2, 3. You got to actually write the words out, and you got to do 2 of them, and then make a number sentence out of how many letters there were in the whole thing. Otherwise, you're dealing with dimes and pennies for number 3. Which one's divided into fourths? Remember, 4 on all the parts have to be the equal. And number 5, you got to put those numbers in order from biggest to smallest. And on the back side, I think everything's exactly the same. The only thing that's different is on number 1, you have to circle the larger number and put an X on the smallest number. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same with regards to your math for tomorrow, okay? Or for today. In reading class, you're going to be doing a little bit of you get to be like the author on page 179. You get to pick a topic. Pretend like you're going to write a story, and your topic can be anything you want. So I'm going to pretend that I'm Cameron. Cameron would probably say she's going to write a story. Her topic, what will she write about? Cameron would write, I'm going to write about LOL dolls. All right, what's the main idea? I love to play with LOL dolls. This is a sentence that kind of starts your story off. I love to play LOL dolls. So you want to write, for number 2, just write a sentence about that. And then number 3, they give you 2 lines to write 2 sentences to explain your main idea. So her main idea was she loves to play with LOL dolls. I have 15 LOL dolls. The LOL dolls are fun to play with. Those are 2 details about why she loves to play with LOL dolls. So that's what you're going to be doing there. It can be on anything you want. You can choose. So be creative. If you need your mom and dad to pick one out for you, then let them pick one out for you. But if not, or ask me at the Zoom meeting and I'll pick one out for you. But if not, then I will be more than happy to let you pick one out. On the next part, on page 180, you're adding ed and ing to each one of the words. So like the word play, if we added ed, we'd have played. Ing is playing. You have to figure out which one it makes sense. So I'm going to do number 1 with you. It says, I will be blank to my new house. And the word is move. Now would moved or moving make more sense there? I will be moving. And remember, if it ends in a silent E, we take the E off and add ing. So it's moving. All right, and then you got to do that same thing for the last 3 there. On page 181, you're going to use those 5 words up at the top: put, work, carry, were, and person. You're going to use those to fill in the blank. So read those sentences carefully and figure out which one. And on the back side of that page, 182, read that story to yourself. And then you need to draw a nice picture, like you're the illustrator again. We've done this before. That goes with that picture. Draw it, color it, make it look nice and neat. I'm excited to see some nice, colorful pictures there. All right. All right, Rodney, with your reading today, you have a story that you're going to read. Make sure you read that story. Nothing much happened today. Kind of ironic, especially with us all being stuck inside. Kind of a fun story. It's not very long, but I want you also to, on a separate piece of paper, answer. I think there's 5 or 6 questions on page 75. And there's a little thing called the write about. Just write a little paragraph there, 3, 4, 5 sentences long, and follow the directions that it says there. It should be kind of a fun little thing for you to be able to do. Then you also have some workbook pages. On page 21, you're dealing with figurative language. That's what when an author writes something that uses, when you read the sentence, you can almost see it in your brain. Okay, the nice warm sunshine shine brightly on the bright yellow prairie field. Man, you can almost picture it, right? It's a nice sunny day. You can picture what a sunny day looks like in the prairie, and how everything looks golden. that's called figurative language, when you can picture it in your brain just by reading it. A good author is really, really good at using figurative language. That's what you have to do on 21. They give you two sentences. You have to fill in the bubble next to the one that you think draws a better picture in your head. And it's pretty obvious which one is that. Okay? On the back side, there's two stories, one for number 1 and one for number 2. And then there's 5 sentences, 5 or 6 sentences, I should say. You need to put those sentences in order according to how they happened on the story. All right. So put 1 next to the first thing, 2, all the way up to 5 or 6. On number 23, you're dealing with these 2 letters, which I'm sure you've done this before, but the letter PH. Okay. Sometimes the letter PH can make the F sound. Ooh. Okay. So PH, like phonics, starts with PH. It's not a P, it's a PH, will make the F sound, okay? So on the top part, there's a little poem. You got to circle or find all the PH words that make the F sound there. And then at the bottom, they have words that are in dark print. So like the first one I'm going to write here. Okay, and laugh is the word, and GH is the dark word. And then there's a little line next to it, and it says, what does that word that is in dark print, or I underlined it, sound make? So GH there, laugh. Oh, that makes an F sound. So we put an F on the line. Okay, there's one that looks like this. This one's a little trickier. The word is Chicago, and the CH is underlined or dark print. Well, what sound does Chicago start with? It makes a sh sound. So you got to put 2 letters on that line because we know SH makes the sh sound. Okay, so just be careful there. It's gonna the sounds will all be at the top. Some will be an F, some will be a K, some will be an SH. And on the back side of there, that goes with the story that you're going to be reading. And some vocab words. Tell me what those vocab words mean by reading the sentence. And at the bottom, choose 2 of those words and write 2 sentences using those words that you pick. So you make up your own sentences using those vocab. Okay? Second graders, yours is pretty simple with regards to your math today. It's an assessment. There's 3 pages. 2 of them are fact assessment. They're page 7, fact assessment number 17. And then the last one is a written assessment. The written assessment one isn't too hard. For one, you got to read the sentence and tell me how many stickers did they have all together. So it shouldn't be too hard. They can make sure you write out the problem in the workspace. And then you have to, for number 2, use the chart to answer the questions, and make sure you put those numbers in order put the names of the children. Don't put the numbers, put the names of the children who had the most all the way down to who had the fewest. 3, you're going to have to get out your ruler and measure those to the nearest inch. 4, what time is that clock say over there? And don't forget, it says it's evening, so don't forget, is that AM or PM? 5, how many hundreds blocks are there? That goes first. How many 10 sticks? That's your middle number. How many 1 cubes? That's your last. And then 6 and 7, or 6 at the bottom is just a bunch of subtracting and adding. Now, be careful with the first 2. You're taking away 10. The other 2 you're adding. Okay? Shouldn't be too hard. Like I said, they're only one-sided. These are kind of like our little assessment pages. Second graders, though, on your sheets for reading today, on page 54, you need to write the word that means means almost the same as the word that they give you. So you got to take one of the spelling words from the box, and they give you 2 words, and you got to write another word that matches that word. Should be pretty simple. 55 is a little bit trickier. On 55, we're dealing with how, when you look up a word in a dictionary to find out what a meaning is, what you might find. And if you look at the example, it's of the walrus. They show you a picture of the walrus. They show you the name walrus. They tell you what the walrus means. And then in parentheses there at the end, or italicized, the slanted letters, they tell you exactly what that word, or they use that word in a sentence. So what you need to do is, like for the web, there's something that's missing. One of those things, whether it's the picture, the word, the definition, or the example sentence, you got to write that, find the missing thing for web, for whisker, and for the bottom one. Okay, so you got to fill in those missing things. For whisker, you tell me what a whisker is. I'll give you a clue. You're missing the definition there. You got to come up with a definition. What would you call a whisker of a cat? So tell me how would you describe that? Okay. Page 56, it's kind of a fun one. If you remember in our class, I think it was when you guys were in kindergarten, we did hink pinks. Those were words sentences that had lots of rhyming words in them. What you need to do is find the 3 words in each sentence that rhyme. So the pig spilled pink ink in the sink. You could probably already hear it, right? Pink, ink, sink. Well, there's our 3 words for number 1. So you got to figure out the others for 6. The other 6, okay? Second graders and Rodney, for your language class today on page 162 and 163, you guys have just a review. This is a review that goes back quite some time. For part A, you just have to write A or B, which one is the sentence. Part B, you need to rewrite the sentences and make sure you start them with a capital letter, end them with the correct punctuation, whether it's a period, question mark if they're asking a question, those types of things. Number C, you need to rewrite the sentence again and circle the naming part. Who is the sentence about? And underline the telling part. What are they doing? So remember, like if it said Mr. Holman drinks his coffee, who's the naming part is? Mr. Holman. And what's he doing? The telling part, he drinks his coffee. Okay? Part D, you need to write the noun. That's the person, place, or thing in each sentence. There's only one of them. So just write the noun. You don't have to write the sentence. Part E, you need to write the noun that means more than one. They give you 2 words. Which one of them means more than one? So like if it said dog or dogs, well, we know dogs means more than one. Part F, you need to write the noun that shows ownership. Remember, that's when you add the apostrophe S. So like Mr. Holman's coffee was getting cold. Mr. Holman's, because it has an apostrophe S at it. Part G, you need to write the word that best finishes the sentence there. And part H, you need to rewrite the sentence and add ed to the word that's in parentheses. And then part I, write the adjective, the word that describes the noun. So the hot coffee tasted delicious. Well, the coffee is the noun, and what describes the coffee? It's hot. So we'd write hot. For that, you need to tell me then, what does that tell us? How many or what kind? Well, that tells us what kind of coffee. It's hot. So you write the adjective, and then behind it, tell me either how many or what kind. Okay? So that should be hard. It's all review stuff. But again, if you have questions, feel free to get in contact or wait for the Zoom meeting. Okay? Third graders, today we are taking a look at mass, and that's like weight. We're looking at grams and we're looking at kilograms. If you look at the chart on page 432, it kind of gives you an example of both grams and kilograms. So like a gram weighs about the same as a dollar bill. Ooh, that's not very much. A kilogram weighs about the same as a basketball. So think about how much a basketball weighs. That's about the same as a kilogram. Okay, so gram is abbreviated as a G. So you can write a G for gram, or you could write a little k and a little g for kilogram. Okay. Now, if you looked at that thing, for 1 kilogram, you need 1,000 grams. And can you think about that? So you need $1,000 $1 bills to make up 1 basketball. It's kind of crazy to think about that. So you might have to look at that. So like if you're going to measure, let's say, your book bag with all your books in it, would that be a gram or kilogram? Of course, that's a kilogram because that'd be pretty heavy. But if I was going to, let's say, weigh this playing card that I have here, that'd be a gram because it's not very heavy. It's something that's pretty light. Okay. Your assignment today, as I was looking at it yesterday and this morning, there's nothing that's really too difficult. Just a reminder that if you don't remember something, you can always go back right underneath the problem number. There's a little number there, and you go, that's what lesson we went over it. So you can always go back there and look and see if you can find something. But as I looked at your assignment, the only thing that might be a little tricky is number 5. You need to write 2 fractions there, okay, for each of those objects. Remember how many are colored, that's on top. The bottom number is how many altogether did they cut that piece into. And then you got to have the mouth eat who had more, a bigger blue part. So write those 2 fractions, and then have the mouth eat the bigger one. Otherwise, everything else I think should be fairly normal today. Make sure you draw a nice neat cube on number 10. 12, you got to make sure you change that into a multiplication. 14 is what we worked on last week with regards to multiplying. We can do a quick review of that real fast. So if it says, remember first, if it says 3 times 20, if it's going to say something that looks like that, you always want to switch it to make the 20 go on top. And you always write it vertically up and down, okay? And the big number goes on top. And then remember we say, what's 2 times 3? That's 6. And then we bring the 0 down. Okay? So make sure that you do that very carefully. Again, if you need more help with that, ask me this afternoon on our Zoom meeting. I think everything else there should be fairly normal. Don't forget for part 20B, it says what's the volume. Got to multiply 3 sides there. And don't forget it's centimeters, so centimeters cubed, you need that 3 thing after that, okay? Shouldn't be too hard. For your reading assignment today, third graders, let me scroll down here. You guys are reading a story called Babe Dickerson. You're going to be reading in the next couple of days some biographies. These are stories about people's lives. So if I was writing a biography about my life, I would say, start from when I was born. I was born in Rapid City. I lived in California. My family lived in Europe for a year. I went to college in Minnesota, and now I've lived in Michigan for, I don't know how many years now, 17 years. Okay? So you're going to read that story first off, because we're going to be getting into how to deal with some of these biographies, and you're going to use some of these stories to write some facts, because the biographies are all true. They're not fantasy. They're true stories, and they're about true events that happened in these people's lives. And taking Babe Dickerson was quite a lady back in history, where she was quite an athlete, and you're going to read about her and find out how awesome of a lady she was. On page 65 of your workbook page, on the top you got to find the 6 that are spelled wrong, write them correctly, they're all vocab words, and then use the rest of those words down there at the bottom to fill in the blank. Very simple, we've done that many times. On the next page, you got to use the form be. Remember now the 4 different parts of words be that you can use is, are, was, were, am. You got to use those words, those 5 words, to fill in the blank. So like the first one, the desert, they give you a choice, blank, dry most of the year. The desert are dry or is dry? Is dry. So you write is there, okay? On page 67, you got to write the irregular verbs. These aren't, like the first one, it says, my cousin blanked to the desert last month, and the word is go, but we got to write it past tense because it happened in the past. And we don't say goed. My cousin goed to the desert. No, my cousin went to the desert. So we'd write went in there. So be careful with that. But that's something we did in language class with those irregular verbs. If you have a question with any of them, though, please feel free to get in contact with me. And at the bottom, on the next page, this kind of deals with all, as we get into the biographies, they give you a word. Like the first one is biography. Oh, there you go. And then it says story, person's life of, You need to unscramble those to write the definition. So biography is a person's life story. So you got to do that for facts, sequence, and events, and research. Use the box above it to unscramble those words to tell me what that word means. And then you need to answer yes or no to those last 5 questions down there at the bottom. All right? That shouldn't be too hard, I don't think. For language class today, 3rd and 4th graders, Javon, Dylan, you guys are going to be looking at the word no. These are called negative words. And I'm not just talking about the word no. You're going to talk about the word nothing, none, didn't, nobody, won't. If you look on top of page 332, you see in that story a bunch of those words underlined. Okay? So what you need to do, let's look at the guided practice down there. The crow never saw anyone around the tree. Well, the negative word there is never. Okay, number 2, he didn't expect the fox to walk by. Well, the negative word is didn't, because it has the word didn't, stands for did not. How about number 5? The fox got the cheese and the crow had nothing. Nothing is our negative word. You usually, in sentences, when you write sentences, don't use more than one negative word. So you can't say, the fox didn't never have cheese. didn't, never. They're both negative no words. That's not a good writer. So you got to write it just using didn't and never. Only use it one time. Okay? So what you have to do for part A is find the negative word, the word that means no in each sentence. Just write that word on your paper for 6 through 11. Part B, you need to, again, figure out which one of those words best finishes the sentence. Remember, if it already has a negative, you can't use the other negative word, the other no word. Again, don't write the sentences. But part C, you do need to rewrite the sentences. And you're going to write the sentence, but you can't just use, they give you 5 choices of no words to fill in the blank. But you got to add more words than that. So like the traveler, you can't just say the traveler didn't. The traveler didn't go on vacation because of the lockdown. Okay, something like that. So you got to add more. You got to use one of those words, but then also use more. And remember, you can only use each one of those words one time. So once you've used it, you can't use it in another sentence. Okay? All right, should be, I don't think, too hard. I think you guys should probably get it. All right, and last but not least, 4th graders in your reading today. This is for Javon and Leah and Dylan. You guys are, the first page is a little tricky. I know that you guys have probably had Chinese food before. Maybe you haven't, but they give you 4 types of food that they have that are considered Chinese dishes that are pretty good. You see them in most Chinese restaurants. There's wonton soup, which is kind of like chicken noodle soup, except with big noodles in them. And the noodles usually have some sort of meat, like a dumpling in it. Okay. There's noodles, which is kind of like chow mein, they call it. But those are like those kind of like ramen noodles. There's peppery shrimp, which you could probably just kind of understand what that tastes like just by its description. And then there's vegetables. They like to, almost all Chinese food has some sort of vegetables in them. What you need to do is, what do you think those dishes would taste like? So write a sentence or 2 describing how you might think those things taste like. Color those pictures. That's all you got to do on that one. Okay. If you've never had it before, like I've never had the peppery shrimp, I'm just going to guess. I'm going to take a good 4th grade guess of what do I think that might taste like. Okay, on the next one, you have to rewrite each sentence and fill in the blank with an adjective, a word that describes a noun. So like number 1, the crest of the dragon's head was blank and blank. Okay, so I might write the crest of the dragon's head was big and beautiful. Both those words, big and beautiful, describe the dragon's head. So I'm going to write those in there. So be careful there. On page 51, you have a comparing and contrasting thing. So you're going to write, I'm going to give you each 2 things that you're going to compare and contrast. Okay. And compare means how are they alike? Contrast means how are they different? So Javon, you're going to do basketball and soccer. Dylan, you're going to do bananas and apples. And Leah, you're going to do Michigan and Michigan State. Okay, so you're going to write what your 2 things are up in the top box, and then you're going to tell me 2 things of how each of them are different. So there's 2 circles there at the bottom. Here, I can show it to you in my book. You have 2 circles down here, right here. So like for Leah, she'd write Michigan, and over here she'd write Michigan State. You need to write 2 ways of how they are the same. How are Michigan and Michigan State the same? Or how are apples and bananas the same? How are soccer and basketball the same? Then tell me 2 things only about Michigan or basketball or bananas. Tell me 2 things that only describe the other thing that I gave you. Okay? So we've done that. I think we've done that in the past, but something a little bit fun. Challenge yourself there. And then at the bottom, on the last page, page 52, you need to look at each one of those sentences. One of them is a good sentence. You just write complete sentence. I'm just going to give you the clue. It's only one of them. The other 4, you need to rewrite them and make them complete sentences. Change some words, add some words. Make sure you start your sentences with capital letter, put a period down, all that good stuff. Okay? So that should be about it for today. I know it's a start to our Monday, but we're off and running. I hope to see a lot of you guys today in our Zoom meeting. I'm excited to be able to see you kind of face to face. I also would really, if you have questions, feel free to get in contact with me. Even if it's not during the Zoom meeting, call me. Get my number from your parents. I know your parents are busy working. A lot of your parents are working at home, but please make sure you get in contact with me there. Also, if you are, remind your parents that after you're done with your homework, they can take a picture of it and email it to me. That'd be awesome. That being said, make sure you're drawing when you write your words and write your homework. Make sure you have a nice sharp pencil so that way I can see it. Okay, if especially if I'm looking at a picture, it might be a little hard to see if you write really lightly. So write really dark so that way I can see all the good work that you guys are doing throughout the day today. All right. So I can't wait to see some of you. Hopefully I see most of you either tonight or this morning, later on this morning at 10, or hopefully, or tonight later on at 7 o'clock. And just even if you don't have a question, you can just jump on, say hi, see everyone else, and we'll kind of go from there. All right. Have a great day. Don't forget also, I'm going to post another video this afternoon with our Christ Light story. So take a look at that if you're looking for something to do this afternoon. It's not going to be very long, probably 10-15 minutes long. Just kind of going over our next Christ Light story. All right. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.